You're listening to the Empowered Divorce Podcast, where you practice being the chooser in your life again, one day at a time. Thanks for joining me. Hello, my amazing listeners. A bonus episode for you today. And for those of you who are mad at me because you've been binging all the episodes and now you're caught up to the present day episode, I gotcha. Okay, I've gotcha. I've got a few bonus episodes coming out. Please do not hate me. Just kidding. I love it. You all are amazing. I am constantly finding myself thinking about y'all and what you're facing. You all share such incredible heartbreak and trauma and abuse and betrayal, and yet each of your stories are so unique to you. Many of you have found comfort in last year's episodes where women from all over, all ages and stages, shared their brave stories and how you felt not so alone, not so crazy, and maybe hope that it does get better. It can get better. Our numbers are growing in support, and I hear over and over how many have been trying to find a podcast that resonates with their story of divorce when betrayal and abuse and addiction are part of it, because you're not having the kind of divorce that others talk about or even expect. So to keep other women who are looking for this type of support, this language to validate what they're going through so they don't feel so crazy, then please leave a review. Reviews can absolutely change the algorithms or whatever it's called to help them find this podcast. You can change your name, but the more we have, the more others will find this. And this amazing community of women is growing, and I just love it because I do think about all of you. And like I said, often, and my therapist helps me try to balance that out, but I can't help it. I get it. I've been there, and I know that it's a living hell. I also know that each one of you are capable of so much more than you may see or believe right now. And that's okay. Hold on to my words of hope. Believe and know that I've got you. I think I was sharing this in one of my Believing in You groups, and I was in my last brain spotting training where our trainer, we were talking about this hope, right? And when we have clients that show up and they feel absolutely hopeless, and we want to help them find a resource spot, a spot in their body that is grounded and anchored, and how often they'll show up in these sessions and say, there's no spot. There is no spot in my entire body that feels anchored or grounded. I am absolutely activated. I'm a hot mess. Everything just feels the hurt, the pain, the grief, right? And learning techniques on how to actually guide them to that resource spot. Because the truth is, your body can't 100% be completely activated in every single space in our body. That even if it's the size of a grain of sand, we have some space in our body that we can access, that we can resource, grounding, anchor, even calm, not the numb kind of calm, but a true sense of calming. And she was also talking about, and then she mentioned hope. And she's like, when we have clients that feel hopeless, when we talked about how to navigate clients that have suicidality, and what is that complete, absolute hopelessness, and how we can guide them to that one tiny speck of hope that every single human has inherently, and we come with it. And that right there is so hopeful, where we can know that inherently, innately, like how you were divinely made, your soul, your spirit, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. But this divine part of you came with hope, came with the ability to survive, to create. This is how societies, how humans through mass destruction have continued to rebuild over and over and over after wars and pestilence and famine. No matter how dire the situation is, if you are alive, you find that one speck of hope that will get you through, that will get you to the next step. And it is so important to believe that you have that already within you and that nothing, like you don't need to hustle for it. You don't need to righteous yourself towards it. Like it is there. What a beautiful gift that we were given as humans to be able to have this. And it's why humanity has continued over centuries. And it's so true. There's this one movie. Oh my gosh, I was really trying to keep this short, but my brain is just throwing all kinds of out today. But there was this one movie, and I cannot remember the name of it right now, but it was of an not just a Marine, but like one of those special forces. And Survivor, that's the name of it, Survivor. If you don't like the F word, don't watch it, or watch it on Vimeo, or what's it called? VidAngel. Divorce just threw me over the edge with swear words. I don't even care anymore. I'm a sailor. But I digress. This movie was about how he survived, and literally, like, it is so inspiring, heart-wrenching, a little gruesome, but the devastation that his physical body, mental, like everything that should have stopped him from believing that he can survive, he held on to his grain of sand of hope and survived. And it's funny that it's called survival, and I forgot about that. But of course, it's called Survivor. We are all survivors. You are a survivor, and you will continue to survive. Continue to hold on to that tiny bit of hope. I promise that if you hold on to it, take one step at a time, continue to fill yourself with support like this podcast, other people that are healthy and supporting you along the way, professional help. It will grow. The hope will grow. It will expand within your body. I see it every day, beautifully, astoundingly, and gratefully with the women that I work with. So I know it's possible. So I want to share a thought with you. And as I've been gearing up for my Dating from Within workshop next week, I'm just being really mindful of these women who are scared out of their freaking mind to date. And rightly, when you've had such incredibly deep wounds, then no freaking way. Even my clients who are married but believe they're going to end up in divorce and kind of moving in that direction, they're thinking about dating again. And they're like, no freaking way. Like, it's on our minds. We've thought about it. We're thinking about it. We're trying not to think about it. And of course, it's a no way, because all we've known is unhealthy and destructive. And many of you have chronically known unhealthy and destructive. You've known the cycle of abuse or the drama triangle and being the rescuer. All you know is how to keep trying to be more, do more, have more sex, and yet it's never enough. Your neurobiology has been wired to believe that emotional intimacy looks like and is when you share a really hard, intense, vulnerable feeling or feelings to your partner, and then your feelings get picked apart and discounted or told that they're wrong, too much, too extreme, you're too emotional. Then you might go around the fighting ring a time or two. Ultimately, you start to think, well, maybe they're right, because I am pretty worked up. And like, maybe that's not healthy. So maybe I am wrong. And then you apologize. And of course, that makes it all better. Then you just had what you believe to be an emotional intimacy. No, it's emotional abuse. When you have had early childhood trauma, like I mentioned, and even the chronic relational trauma, these experiences, like the ones I'm mentioning, get lodged into your system and then sets up what we call confirmation bias in your mind. Then you start to view the world with those lenses. As the world keeps coming at you, as we get into relationships with other people, we interpret those situations and those circumstances through that lens. It can stimulate a lot of additional pain and suffering. So this healing journey that you're on is also about looking for experiences that in the world of psychology are called corrective emotional experiences. One of the things that I do with clients is to help give them those even in session, right? Where their system starts to feel safe and regulated and start to know and learn the difference between what being heard and validated feels like in their bodies. Now, when they go have an experience where they're not heard and validated, they now know the difference because they've had a corrective emotional experience with me. I'm just going to focus on this one aspect today because this term is a little bit multifaceted. But when you've had a wound from your relationship, attachment, your spouse, someone you care deeply about and for, where there should be a deep care for your needs, there needs to be trust and safety. And when this isn't there or has blown up, and now you realize that what you thought was there wasn't, this absolutely shapes your experience with any future situation or relationships. This is why, and I include myself in this, but this is why after divorce from betrayal, there's this period of time that many women will look at every single man in their life and even across the street and look at them through these deeply wounded lenses, right? Like, I'm going to hypothesize that every man is a cheater and an addict and an asshole, right? Those of you who have binged heard my episode about that, how like there was that period of time where even the man across the street on my morning walk, don't you even freaking look at me. I swear to God, right? Like, don't. It's a thing. I'd look at couples and think they're fake. This is BS. There's no way that they're happy. Like, there's no way that she's happy. She's probably fake smiling and pretending to be okay right now. Like, nothing they're doing is real. Nothing that they say is real. She's probably being blindsided right now. But this was my deep wound and experience in my primary attachment, right? I was projecting and interpreting the outside world based on my own confirmation bias. Even if you're one that gets into another relationship and doesn't hate men, so to speak, right after, you don't go through that period, you too are experiencing a different manifestation of this confirmation bias. It might show up like optimistic bias, where instead of expecting the negative outcome, you're going to swing way on the other side of the pendulum and hold very high views of relationships. So you downplay the red flag or you rationalize unhealthy behavior. And you fixers out there are then going to be determined to fix any potential issue that might get in the way of this relationship working out. Because by golly, this is going to work out. And I'm going to be positive and hold on to the positive because it will work out, right? That is still confirmation bias. There can be idealization where now you have a new partner and you idolize them and see them through rose-colored glasses, because when you've had so much pain in your previous relationship and going through divorce, you might find someone who is the complete polar opposite of everything that your ex was not. Then you're going to rationalize away the things that you don't like or feel that feel off, because you're going to say things like, well, that's just the way things are. He can improve. He's got great potential. We're not dating potential. I used to tell my young single adults class in that workshop, you're not dating potential. You're dating the reality. What do you see right now? But underneath a lot of this is the fear of being alone. Then you risk repeating the patterns because you're not taking the time to really reflect and heal and date yourself, connect back towards yourself and create that healthy intimacy within. One of the things I talk about in the Dating from Within workshop is the importance of having these corrective emotional experiences. Now, corrective emotional experiences, they're very powerful moments that can change you forever. They have absolutely changed me forever. This is one of the crucial experiences that we need to cultivate and have and create to heal from the deeply destructive relational experiences that you've had. When you have these corrective ones, they open up new pathways, new beliefs. Those of you who are watching me on YouTube, like you can even see my hands, like they're moving, they're expanding, they're growing. You literally feel this within you. It expands how you see men when you do date, expands how you see people, humans, how you see yourself. And it frees you from the pain, from these painful beliefs about yourself that are holding you back, that are keeping you from discovering parts of yourself that you might not even know are there. Sometimes the corrective emotional experience comes from an insight that you have that clarifies for you how the past was influencing you and influencing your present, or how these unconscious conflicts are causing self-destructive behaviors. For example, when I do the relational dynamic assessment with women and we go through those 8 domains in their relationship, and it asks all these questions about what they experienced in the relationship in each one of these domains, and it brings what was in their unconscious, right, what their body knew they actually experienced, and they bring it to their consciousness. It clarifies what they've experienced. And now that they're more aware, they're not going to miss the red flags anymore. They're going to be aware of when they experience this in their body again. They're going to be aware of that behavior again. Taking this a step further, when we recognize the unhealthy behavior that we experience, we need to then actively practice having healthy. For example, your self-talk. What does that sound like? Does that sound like you tell yourself you're lazy? You just aren't good enough. You didn't do it good enough. You're really stupid. You have no business doing that, thinking that. You're really broken. Who do you think you are? Like, what is your self-talk? This is unhealthy verbal intimacy with yourself. You can practice having corrective, healthy verbal intimacy with yourself by reframing that, by saying, I am an expert in what I know now, and I'm willing to keep learning. Or I am of worth and value, and I'm enough just as I am right now. You can do this with yourself when you fail, when something doesn't work out the way that you hoped. And rather than having the typical cascade of self-criticism and self-doubt and all of that unhealthy, right? Choose to engage in self-compassion. Remind yourself that it's okay to make mistakes and that you're doing your best. This act of self-compassion, especially in the moments when you would normally go into that self-criticism, can make powerful corrective emotional experiences for you. It shifts that internal narrative from this unworthy and sense of worthlessness, unlovability, to acceptance and love. So practice doing this with yourself and for yourself. Then we can move into having relational experiences that provide corrective emotional experiences. I remember feeling pretty solid about myself while I was single, working, building my business. The squawking from the ex was fading more and more in the background, and just not ratting up my ass so much. And I had my first date. This guy is awesome. I say is because we're still Facebook friends, and he is also happily married. Anyway, he gave me so many opportunities to let the corrective emotional experiences start to sink in for me. He was so honest and upfront in our conversations. I was actually taken back by the realness. When I believed that I was getting real from my ex in our marriage, this experience felt so different. I was able to correct this within my body and mind as to what real and honest actually felt like. Okay, I thought that was real, but actually I remember always questioning myself and walking away either feeling confused or like I was the problem, or just going like my face even. Again, if you could watch me, my face, I remember just always going, whatever, right? And that didn't happen here. It was a completely different experience that I had in my body. And I was like, oh, that's what honesty feels like. That's what being upfront with someone feels like. Other dates that I went on, again, was able to have moments of corrective emotional experiences where I could rewire the old pattern and negative cycle with a positive one, creating huge emotional awareness and shifts within myself, correcting the destructive and unhealthy experiences that I had in the past. And it's in these moments that had the power to shift our entire perspective and our trajectory, the path that we head down. Those of you who are afraid of I just don't want to repeat the cycle. I don't want to go down that same path. You won't when you intentionally foster these types of corrective emotional experiences. They unlock new possibilities. They liberate you from those limiting beliefs about yourself, about relationships, and about what you deserve in a relationship or what healthy is. I had a client who was dating, and she booked a session with me because she was freaking out. She had gone on this date with someone, and she just did not know how to process this whole. She's like, I need to process this whole experience. She's like, you'll never believe what happened. I'm like, try me. Anyways, she told me that she had this experience where she was on a date, and she noticed that he wasn't being sexual with her. He wasn't trying to grope her, touch her, even physically flirt. Right? She said that she started to worry. She's like, is there something wrong with me? She's sniffing her armpits. Do I smell? Do I stink? to go to the bathroom and like, there's something up my nose. Like, what is wrong with me? Right. Maybe I'm just not attractive enough. Like something has to be wrong because this is the template, the bias to which she had always known. Right. Like she's like, I know that I'm acceptable when a man wants to have sex with me and they always want to have sex with me. So what's wrong? Like her marriage was tanked because all her husband wanted to do was have sex with her, and he could care less about her dreams and ambitions and passions. He had sex with other women too, but still, when he wanted to have sex with her, she felt like, okay, I'm okay, we're okay because he wants to have sex with me. That's what kept it going for so long, and I can relate to that. So this guy that she was dating was giving her a completely different experience. She gets home from the date and she's like, well, that's that. Guess he doesn't like me. Another one bites the dust. Just trying to figure out like what happened, what's wrong with me, that there wasn't this sexual thing happening. And then she gets a text from him. And this is where her tears just flowed. He basically told her how much he appreciated her company and that he thinks that she's bright and smart and funny. And he would really like to get to know more about her. Then he made it very clear that he was not trying to avoid her advances. It even blows my mind, right? Like he acknowledged what he saw, right? He didn't make her feel like she was crazy or that he was ignoring it. Like he validated what he witnessed, that he knew, I know you were making sexual advances. I wasn't ignoring it. I wasn't blind to it. I saw it. And he said he respects himself and her enough that he didn't want to let the physical get in the way of getting to know each other. I think he even told her something like, if she feels like he didn't even make her feel like she was wrong. Like if you feel like if this is your template, like if this is how you want to do relationships and you want to jump straight to the sexual, like go for it. You are not going to offend me. Go do your thing, girl, the thing, right? But that's not how I work. And she's just sobbing. She's like, I don't know how the F to process this. Like, what the hell? Right? And I know many of you are like, what the hell? Where is this man? Can I have his number? Right? I know. I actually believe he is taken. They did not end up working out, but he became a key shifting experience to having, because he provided a corrective emotional experience for her and unleashed a whole new level of healing that needed to happen for her. It was beautiful. It was amazing. She will ever be grateful, just like I will forever be grateful for some of these other men that I met and went on dates with, even though, yeah, another story for another day. But she took that experience, she brought it to me. We worked through it, we processed it, and it moved her to the next level of expansion, of space, of knowing, of perspective that led her down a different path, even with the type of men that she dated, that she chose to date, and how she even dated. This new insight about her value and what she deserved and how she deserved to be treated in a relationship was something that she carried with her, right? She's like, okay, every relationship, this is how they need to respect themselves and me. That is now a non-negotiable. And it's what she decided she wanted. You might cognitively be understanding what I'm talking about and recognizing the unhealthy or the destructive events, but now you need in your life that you've experienced, but now you need to actively be engaging in healthier practices as a form of corrective action for you. For example, if you have constantly experienced relationships where your boundaries were not respected, I'm pretty sure every single one of you are listening are like, yep. Okay. So think about that you can have a corrective experience with yourself. You don't need any events. You can do this for yourself. And I want you to start cultivating these for yourself first. Okay. This is what dating yourself is all about, by the way. So the corrective emotional experience might happen when now you are in a social setting. Maybe you do this with family, safe family members or friends. Practice on them. Like say, hey, I need to practice boundaries. Can I practice on you? I love it. Do this. Now, okay, you're in a relationship with someone, family, friends, new colleague, work colleague, whatever. and you decide to assert your boundary very clearly, very respectfully. The moment that your boundary is acknowledged and respected, you're going to stop and you're going to be like, whoa, this person just acknowledged my boundary and is respecting it. They're honoring it. They're not making a fuss. They're not telling me that I'm wrong or too boundaried or closed off or avoidant or like that's not happening. Sit with that. What does that feel like in your body to have someone actually say, I believe you? Okay, that makes sense. That's valid. You get to decide what is safe for you. You get to decide what's okay and not okay. Holy crap. Let this surge of empowerment and sense of self-worth and newfound respect for your own needs sink into your soul, sink into your blood, your DNA. Let it rewire. These are the kind of healthy practices that not only are going to correct the previous unhealthy patterns, but establish this beautiful foundation for more fulfilling, respectful, and reciprocal relationships in the future. And big capital A-N-D. I really want to pause and make beautiful sacred space for the very real aspect that often does not get addressed here, along with corrective emotional experiences. People sometimes overlook this part, is that when you have these, when you experience them or when you witness them, make space for the shame, the deep sadness, the grief that will often accompany these corrective experiences. Because just like my client who received that message from the guy that she went on a date with, I too can relate to this. And honestly, the first 3 years of my new marriage, every corrective experience, every emotionally corrective experience, every sexually corrective experience, like all of those experiences that I have had with him in the last 6 years, but the first 3 years brought a wave of emotions. I didn't know what to do with it. I would cry because I realized over and over how badly, poorly, abusively I had been treated my entire life. The trauma that you experience is deeply embedded and real. You may absolutely question what healthy feels like because it can feel super weird and fake. In fact, I would say that to Scott all the time. I'm like, are you being for real right now? Or is this like fake? Like, come on. I said it enough times, and his response over and over felt the same. Every time it felt the same. I wasn't even chastised or whatever, belittled, or he wasn't annoyed that I was asking over and over. And that confirms what I had just experienced was real and not fake. And it was correcting, it was realigning, like, oh, like when you go to the chiropractor and he adjusts your back and it just like, right? All of it was like, crick, 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 crick. And there were so many kinks in my system. And every time I had one, it was like pop back in place, pop back in place. I got realigned with every corrective experience. When I'd watch other couples, when I was single, when I'd watch other couples having healthy interactions and I was witness to this in their homes, I'd cry feeling so sorry for my past self that didn't know what this healthy relationship stuff was. I thought I knew until I really knew what I didn't know. So please make space for this part of you, the you that didn't know. Forgive her, be with her, comfort her. She didn't know, but she damn well is going to start knowing. This is what Dating from Within workshop is all about, y'all. Learning to date yourself, to create healthy, corrective experiences, connecting with yourself, really learning what authenticity is and becoming your safe space within. And when you're ready to date, you're going to have more of these experiences, here a little, there a little, right? To unravel that confirmation bias that will keep you out of repeating those unhealthy patterns that I hear from so many of you that you're afraid is going to repeat. I just thought of another funny story. I know, so much for keeping this short. I had gone on a blind date and the guy that I had gone on a blind date with, he sobbed through just about the entire dinner, pouring out his guts, this poor, betrayed heart. Like he just was pouring it all out to me. That should have actually been my clue of what I would eventually do for a living. But he was just so heartbroken. And I was sad with him, holding space for his emotions. And I was sitting there thinking to myself how vulnerable he was being and showing real emotions. And it wasn't the kind where, like, I knew it was real because I'd also experienced where, not even like outside of my emotionally immature marriage, but like when men would shed a tear, like to get the tear, the sympathy tear, the victim tear, right? We know what that tear looks like, and if you don't, then you got to take the course. But like they would shed that victim tear of, oh, okay, this was not that. It felt so different. It really did feel vulnerable. He actually really was apologetic. He's like, I don't know where this came from. I don't know. I was not planning on this. I couldn't stop it. It was all just coming up, and I'm just like the poor guy. And all of my clients know this. I can make people cry pretty well. I guess I was just doing my thing. Oops. But I was just so taken back by his vulnerability. And that was a new experience for me, right? Like right there, I was able to add this to my list that I want. I want someone who even though this is a first blind date, like stuff's coming up and he's just gonna let it come up. I really was a safe person. I really was not judging him. I wasn't shaming. I was truly empathetic because I had been there. I've experienced it, and I could hold that space for him to give him credit. I knew right before he even started to spill his guts that this wasn't going to really go anywhere. But anywho, I put on my list because of this experience, vulnerability, willingness to share real, authentic emotions. That was a corrective experience for me. Dating for these experiences can absolutely help you heal and rewire and recorrect what has been deeply wounded, what has been taken from you. This is the abuse part. It's been taken from you. And so you take it back. Damn it. You take it back, you empowered woman, because healing is possible. It is available and it's yours to choose, and you can choose to date you first. In fact, please do. I'd love to show you how, because you really can create the kind of dating experience that you want. But dating or not, you get to be the chooser in your life, because you can. Take care, everybody. Okay, so for those of you who are listening to this on the day of this bonus episode release, the next Dating From Within workshop is this Thursday. And those of you who are binging through beautifully these episodes and you're like, oh no, that's okay. Go to amiewoolsey.com and click over to Dating From Within, and you'll find the next date of the workshop if you are interested in becoming the chooser of your dating experience. I'll see you soon.